was just something in me just clicked. Like when I say clicked, it just clicked. At that very moment, I felt very, very masculine. You're not even giving a person the ability to utilize that muscle if you're going to be the one lifting weights all the time. Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of Pretty Suited Podcast, where we discuss career culture and the commitment to being our best selves. I'm your host, Lauren A. I don't know about you guys, but 2024 has been quite exhausting. Like, not even trying to be funny. I think we can all say that this year has been quite exhausting. And so I say in the month of December, I'm chilling. This is the circle back in 2025 era. Like, we're going towards the end of the year. Things that's not important, things that can be pushed, non-urgent matters can be resumed in 2025. So this has just been a pretty interesting few weeks. I think last episode we spoke about, some of my health issues that I've just been getting over, some respiratory stuff. So I'm definitely encouraging you all to take care of yourselves. So the first topic today, I kind of want to just keep it along the lines of what we're discussing as far as like, what do we want to spend our energy on? I'm posing this question to you guys. Like, what are we going to spend our energy on in the later parts of 2024 going into 2025? Like, what does that look like for us? What are your own personal goals of how you want to spend your time and your energy? Personally, quick story. I recently went to a birthday dinner for a great friend of mine here in Atlanta. There's so many different spots to go to. And one thing I just have the biggest issue with is just how the nightlife is. I feel like, Atlanta is a city that I love because it's just a lot to do. I mean, you can literally find something for whatever you're interested in. And one thing that it's been infamously known for, and I say infamous specifically because Keith Lee made it very, very hot for Atlanta because he came down, did some reviews, and saw how, undesirable the service was. The food might have been okay, but the service was very undesirable. And I experienced that not too long ago at my friend's birthday dinner, where it's one of those places where you see the reviews, you heard that it's popping, they got hookah, they got some good music, the menu looks pretty decent, so you end up going. First thing I had an issue with is I should have known by the first glance when I pulled up and there was a valet and the building is this big. And I'm not even exaggerating. The building is literally this big and they have valet. Y'all, why is there a valet? And not even just a valet, but the valet was saying it's $20 to park in the front and $10 to park in the back. How in the world is it $10 more to park my car 10 steps longer or further? I'm confused. I just, please let me know what sense does that make. So that was my first red flag. And, second red flag, they didn't even have tickets. So they just wanted you to trust them to give you your keys. And just hope that they bring your right car back when everything is done. Again, red flags. Go in there, off to a good start with, some really good friends. But the wait took about 2-3 hours to get our food, to get the right order, to get our drinks, to, even just get her attention. And it's just one of those things that just really turned me off. But being the friend that I am, I really just want to talk about being the friend that I am. Most of my life, I've had to kind of take up for myself. I had to speak up for the things that I was passionate about. The things that I really didn't bother me, I don't really say too much because I don't like to spend my energy on things that don't make sense. But the things that I'm really passionate about, like waiting 2-3 hours to get your food and proper drinks and your ticket back to pay for the check and then turn around and the check be $300. I'm passionate about that. So I took it upon myself to speak up for the group and let the person know how unacceptable this was and how we didn't, how we deserved to get some kind of compensation for our meal. Mind you, it's about 6, 7, 8 people at the table, including men. And I found myself speaking up for myself, but also for the table. And while I didn't mind, it got to the point where I felt like it was falling on deaf ears. Like the waitress was pretty, she was apologetic about it or whatever. But everybody had something to say when the waitress left. But when she was back, they didn't say anything. It was just me saying something. So I was like, at that moment, I started to see myself kind of like being the superwoman, the Rottweiler of the table. And I didn't like that. I didn't like that. It was at that very moment where I kind of looked outside of myself and saw, you're doing too much. You're doing way too much. I mean, while again, I'm not afraid to speak up for myself, and I am known to do that, as well as my friends. It was just something in me just clicked. Like when I say clicked, it just clicked. And I said, nobody else is taking it upon themselves to speak up or to voice their opinion about the problem except for me. And why do I feel the need to be the spokesperson of the group? And at that very moment, I felt very, very masculine. I'm not going to lie to you. I felt very, very masculine. And for a woman who has her own mind, her own, ways about herself, I don't mind being who I am. But I know as I do more self-awareness, I start to see the episodes of where I can, where I can extend myself, where I could be boisterous, or when I need to pull back. And at that very moment, while that situation was very unfair, I felt like I should not have been the only one to say something. And I decided that in that very moment, moving forward, I'm going to pick and choose the times when I actually do stuff like that. And it's not like I'm going to let people run over me. I'm definitely not going to do that. But when it comes to like a group of people, I don't want to wear that cape anymore. I just don't. And I question you guys, like I poll you guys to see like how many of us really go through life wearing that cape. Like I'm a natural humanitarian. I'm an Aquarius woman. This is just, it's what we do. Like we care about humanity. We want to speak up for what's right. We're very, very, empathetic people when it comes to like, problems of the world or speaking up for those who can't speak up for themselves. That's just what we do. That's just who I am. You know what I'm saying? And so when I'm given a chance to do that, I try to do that. But now that I'm in my 30s and I'm just understanding how the world works, I don't necessarily think that I would like to be that person all of the time. And so that was just a really good moment for me, I would say. Like that was a really good moment for me to like really take a look at myself, take a look at, what it is that made me uncomfortable and figure out like how I need to moving forward. And yeah, I thought that was a revealing moment for me. It kind of goes along with the energy that I'm, spending in this period. I feel like it's valuable for us to choose our battles. It's valuable for us to give people the opportunity to speak up for you. And if they don't, that's fine because you still have a voice too. But I feel like if you're not even sometimes I don't even allow people to speak up for me because I'm already on it. I'm already and this, that. And this is like, whoa, wait. And and also too, I think that once you become that person, once you just become that personality of your friend group, like sometimes, I'm not saying my friends, but I'm saying sometimes people can just lean on that after a while. And it may not even be purposefully. I think it's so funny because like, I don't think my friends in that very moment was purposefully just allowing me to talk. Maybe they didn't have a problem with it for real. Maybe they were just putting on. I don't know. But like, I think when a person is kind of like, we fall into our roles, in our friend groups or our relationships. And it's like that meme that says, I want a girl who's going to speak up for me at the dinner table because they got the wrong order or something like that. And they want the woman to be able to speak up. If she doesn't do that, she's not the one. And it's like, that's all cute for a meme and all. But what woman wants to legitimately be the barking dog of her man? You got some women who they love that kind of stuff, I guess. But I know me personally, I wouldn't want that role. And again, the man probably doesn't mean any harm by it, by saying that. He might think that's a badge of honor for her to wear. But ultimately, if he's used to that, if he grows used to that, then he's not going to even desire to stretch his hand out and be that person for her because he knows she got it. Right? It's like you're not even giving a person the ability to utilize that muscle if you're going to be the one lifting weights all the time. And so I don't particularly like that. Again, stick up for yourself when the time is right. But I do feel that as a woman who's practicing softness and, being more reserved and feminine and conserving her energy for the things that really do matter, I think you have to be discerning on how you go about that. So look at me, I'm practicing. Look at that. Because I will say it's exhausting. Like doing that, being that person, that's exhausting sometimes. I don't want to be that girl. This clip kind of really highlights what we're talking about here. It really, really highlights this on a different level. Check this clip out.
People who were raised like me believe and are taught and told that you confront issues directly. You never allow yourself to be bullied. If I came home and told my grandmother that I was being bullied and I was crying about it, I got in trouble. Because how could I allow myself to be victimized in that way? It wasn't the bully's problem, it was mine. You stand up to people who threaten you. You stand up for yourself, for others. You speak loudly. You say that shit with your whole chest.
And I would just say the messaging that I got was, you tell a teacher.
My grandmother literally never. My sisters are not telling their children that, I guarantee you.
So as you can see, like in this video, this woman, she's speaking, this Black woman seems very self-assured in just how she's talking, back straight, really assertive. And then you have this white woman who's just sitting back listening, just taking it all in. And they talk about their experiences and how they speak up for themselves. And as you can see, most Black women are given that, instruction from mothers, aunts, fathers, whomever, to be the assertive one. I think I talked about this in previous episodes, way back in like episode 2 or 3, about being kind of like the mouthpiece of the office, right? Where if something is going wrong in your career or like in a department and, somebody knows something is going on, they rely on you to be that person to kind of speak up for everyone so that the change is made. And then, because they know you got it, right? They know you're going to be the one and they reap the benefits of it. But while you are seen as the aggressive, assertive, difficult one to deal with. And I think that does come a lot from our life experiences of having to protect ourselves, having to defend ourselves, having to be the one to be seen in a room when we feel invisible, especially when it comes to imposter syndrome, especially when it comes to, feeling like you have to prove yourself in a particular situation. And so when that happens, you automatically take on the role as an assertive one. And I want to be careful in using my words because assertiveness can also be seen and misinterpreted as aggressiveness. And it's not the same thing. They are not the same thing. Oftentimes, being an aggressor usually comes from a place of anger, while assertiveness can come from a place of curiosity, right? Where I want to be able to assert myself in the situation so that you can see me, so that you can hear me, but I'm not operating out of anger. I'm not operating out of that, but it's just how I come across. You interpret it as that. And so, because tonality means a lot or whatever, cultural differences mean a lot. And so, as you can see in that video, that woman was basically saying that how she was taught from the start, from preschool, to stick up for yourself, stick up for everybody else, to, make sure that you're seen and make sure that you're heard, or otherwise, you might get in trouble. If a bully comes and beats you up while you're in the 5th grade, when you get home, a lot of times in a lot of our families, we get in trouble. How you gonna let them beat you up? How you gonna let them take advantage of you? Right? Like, how you gonna, embarrass us as a family? Like, no, you gotta go out there and you gotta beat them up. You gotta, assert yourself. Like, instead of, while this Caucasian woman, not everybody, of course, has had a different experience. I'm not saying all Caucasian women are the same. But what I'm saying from her experiences, she wasn't even taught to assert herself. That wasn't even in the script. Like, her script was completely different. Her script was, tell the teacher. And somebody in the comments said, that's how Karens are made. But while that's funny, well, that can be funny, it can be also very true, because at the end of the day, if you're talking about a Karen, I'm not saying all white women are Karens, but if you're saying that a Karen is a person who ultimately always goes to tell an authority figure about something that you're doing, essentially a tattletale, essentially like a hall monitor, enforcer type person, like, where do they get that energy from? Where do they get that instruction from? I'm pretty sure it comes from as a kid, where you don't necessarily have to stick up for yourself, but you have to make sure that somebody of an authoritative figure is aware that this is happening and that, now they need to fix it. And they won't leave until it gets fixed. That's how, imposing they are. Like, it's that serious. So I feel like, in that video is a clear indication of just how the origin starts. My family was the same way. Like, not when I was real young, but as I grew older, oh yeah, stick up for yourself. Tell them how you feel. Don't let them play you like that. Don't let them do you like that. And it legit turns into your personality as an adult. And so I just found that to be funny. So what are we going to do about that? Like, if that's your personality, if that's cool, then with you, then that's cool. But again, like I said, for myself, we have to be really, really diligent and discerning on what we are spending our time on. Because I would hate for us to be the one making so much noise, especially as Black women. I would hate for us to want to be making so much noise as we have done for as long as we have been on this earth, essentially. The one that, sticks up for ourselves and everyone else. But in 2024, I would want that energy to kind of be pushed towards actual change, right? Towards, things being in rooms and really making a difference and having that community and that solitude and that, strategic way. How can we really make a difference, as opposed to expending our energy on things that, for one, nobody else cares about. 2, if they care about it, they're too scared to say it for themselves. 3, they wouldn't do the same for us. You know what I'm saying? Like, we got to be a little bit more strategic with this, because it's exhausting. It's exhausting. If we really want to see results, we have to pick and choose. We have to, be a little bit more strategic. That's how I feel. Speaking of, how friends communicate, I saw this other clip by Issa Rae that just kind of made me chuckle, but it was kind of the sad truth. In this clip, they're talking about how men communicate with one another. Check this clip out.
I feel like that's why men aren't good friends to each other, because they mostly talk and comment, but they don't
Oh,
prod and poke. And
my husband will be like, "Oh, they're moving to New Mexico." I'm like, "Why are they moving?" I don't know. I'm like,
I didn't like
a huge life change. Like, did you ask any follow up?
pisses me off. Like literally, I was talking to somebody who was talking about like his friend's marriage just fell apart, and I was like, oh man, why was it like was it another woman? Was it? He was like, oh, I didn't ask all that.
Right.
But he was really sad, and I'm like, what the fuck? You didn't ask
Anything.
His marriage fell apart, and you didn't ask any questions.
Nothing.
That's crazy, and I can't imagine that. Like I would be I would be at my friend's house, like, you know, like the shoulder crying, like all those things.
I would have all the details.
Yeah, absolutely.
Do you watch Love is Blind at all?
Girl, this is the last season I will ever watch again in my life. I'm sick.
I have a theory about Love is Blind. My theory is that men fall in love on this show so quickly because they're talking for the first time in their life and listening. And it's like, I feel so close to this person. I'm like, welcome to conversation.
So yeah. Like, in this clip, Issa Rae makes a valid point. Like, you know, I have a few male friends, and it's so funny because when I talk to them, I get kind of the same response. I was recently talking to a male friend about, like, you know, his walk with Christ. Like, I thought that was pretty great. He was sharing with me, you know, his walk for Christ, that he was doing, you know, some new things, that he was trying to move a different way with his new current girlfriend because, you know, he's just finding himself maturing and he just wants to do the right thing. And he was asking me, like, pretty much, well, what do I do now that I have, like, different interests, now that, like, my friends, they're all cheaters, like, and I don't want to be that. So, like, what do I do to kind of, like, hold myself accountable? Like, I need somebody to help me be accountable for not going that way because it's so easy to do, especially if everybody around you is doing it. And I applauded him. First off, I applauded him for coming to be and being open about those feelings, because I feel like essentially not only do men not communicate well in their friendships, but they also don't hold each other accountable. I said it. I don't think that men hold each other accountable enough. I know women don't either. Okay. For those in the comments who are going to want to say something about women don't either. I know we're right now in this very moment, we're talking about men. Okay. So anyways, men don't hold themselves accountable. They don't hold each other accountable. And I say that because, you know, a lot of times they go along to get along. You know, they really just, like she said, ask the bare minimum. Somebody's life can be falling apart and they could just be like, dang, bro, that's tough. You know, I'm going to keep you in prayer. Or it'll just something that's real generic, right? Without really getting into detail, because I think in their mind, minding their business is the right thing to do. Whether they really don't care, which I don't think that's true, because I really do think men care. But I think that they don't want to show that they care because they could be seen as, you know, a little weird, or, you know, bro, why you in my business type thing. You know what I'm saying? Where they don't want to be seen as, you know, a little too invested. And I just think that that's absolutely ridiculous because, you know, if you really have a good group of guys, like a good group of people that you're surrounding yourself with, why aren't you invested in their life in some capacity? Now, I'm not saying be absolutely ridiculously intrusive, right? Nosy in a sense. But I think if somebody's coming to you with some kind of, you know, situation or problem that they're going through, it's a symbol of some good friendship if you are concerned. You know, maybe offer some suggestions, some, you know, some intervention as a friend, like that. I don't know. That's my understanding. So, yeah, I think that she was absolutely right about, like, as women, we kind of like want to know all the details. So was it a blue shirt or the red shirt? Was it, you know, Wednesday or Thursday? Like, we want to know fine details, like, just because we could just feel like we're there. And I need to know all the details before I give you my input or I pop off. And so with men, I just think that it's kind of the opposite in a lot of cases, not all, but a lot of cases. And so, with him, I told my, going back to my friend, I just told him, like, have you ever thought about, like, just saying, hey, bruh, you're a good dude, you know, but I see that you are unfaithful to your lady. Like, why is that? Like, I don't think you should do that. She's actually a good girl. Like, you know, like, do you ever do that? And he was like, I mean, I do that, but everybody else don't do that. So I've kind of had to, he's kind of had to tone it back because he was being picked on for holding them accountable. And it's like, that's wild. Like, your friend's gonna, of course, project and deflect, you know, their wrongdoings onto you, even though you're doing the right thing because you're holding them accountable. No, they don't want to hear that. They don't want to hear that. So I just thought that was strange. And at sometimes, if you are transitioning into a new phase and, you know, things just don't sit right in your spirit that, you know, was there before, sometimes you might just need to change your friends. I mean, I know that doesn't sound good. I'm not a really big advocate of, you know, just changing friends, no new friends. I don't really like that because sometimes, you know, you and your friends can grow together. But if that's not the case and you've tried to grow with your friends and it's just not working out, then sometimes you might just need to change your group of friends, because essentially you cannot, you know, be involved with a group of guys or a group of girls or whoever your friends are, and you're trying to live a certain way and they don't live that same way. Not if that you're going to spend a lot of time with them and get, you know, energy and information from them. It just doesn't fit. You see what I'm saying? Like, it just does not fit essentially together, because you either, one, going to fall back into the ways that, you know, you were when your guys were at your height, at your peak, or two, you're going to end up resenting each other and have a really big fallout because your guys just don't see eye to eye on a lot of things. You see what I'm saying? So I don't know. I just think that you have to kind of do an audit of your friendship sometimes and just see if it's something that you want to continue on based on your newfound kind of life. And that's okay. Like I said before, that's completely okay. And so I feel like men, just, you know, the men who are watching this episode, don't be afraid to hold your friends accountable. I feel like as we are grown, we are grown, okay? And sometimes you can hold your tongue because you pick and choose your battles and all. But sometimes you really do need to be like, hey, you tripping. Okay? What you're doing is not right. What you're doing is not fair to your partner, to your friend, or whatever. And you're just wrong. And whether they take your advice on it or not, who cares? Whatever, you know, but at least you said something. At least you can, you know, feel better about yourself for not going along with it just because you don't want to cause any ruffles. Because let me tell you something, if they are your real friend, if they are your true friend, they should be able to respect what you're saying. I'm not saying they're going to agree with it, but they should respect what you're saying and, you know, at least give you that. And it shouldn't necessarily be the end of your friendship just because you spoke up for yourself, just because you spoke up for what was right. You feel me? So yeah, that's kind of where I'm at with that. And I really, really like that clip because I just like to see, you know, it's funny how we get together and we just talk about different things as men and women in groups. And even as women talking to a male friend platonically, I think that the conversations are a little bit different because I feel that's why it's important for men to have women as friends. You know, let's briefly talk about that because I feel like we don't talk about that enough. Platonic friendships. I think that that's very important, and it's very. And we'll talk about that another day because I feel like that is just a whole nother episode within itself. How some people don't even think that that's possible to have platonic friendships without there being some kind of sexual involvement. But I think that is severely childish, and it kind of puts a limit on, you know, your possibility of friendships when you can't just be able to be friends with the opposite sex. I think that that's crazy, but we'll talk about that another day. We'll talk about that another day. So now let's get into our watch list of the week. Y'all, my voice is coming back, so that wasn't too bad. Anyways, so I've watched a lot of stuff this past 2 weeks, actually. Again, with Thanksgiving being a holiday and then me just having time off, I just been able to watch things on a plane, and I've been watching things with my family, and so I have a lot to go over. But we just gonna keep it simple, and we're gonna talk about the movie Meet Me Next Christmas. And it has Christina Milian and Duvall Ellis in it, as well as Kofi. I forgot his last name, but beautiful, beautiful Kofi. Yeah. So again, corny Christmas movies were my thing these past couple weeks as we're getting ready for Christmas. And so I just said, let me just watch this. I keep seeing videos about it. Everybody's liking it. So I decided to turn it on. Now, overall, love the movie. Love the movie. I love Christina Milian. She always gives that girl next door kind of vibe. She still kind of reminds me of a girl in her early 20s. And she just, really is a cute actress. I feel like, and she gives the type of movies that I really like, especially during this time of year. Duvall, he's really getting into his acting. I know he's on Tyler Perry's Sisters on BET, and he just plays a certain role there to where it kind of limits him a little bit. But in this movie, he really kind of was able to stretch his range a little bit. And I can't wait to see what he actually grows into with more movies and, more experience. I think that he's really going to flourish into a really good actor. And I love his family. I love him and his wife and his 4 boys. They are really, really cute, especially on Instagram. So yeah, I really enjoyed the movie overall. I will say it was a little predictable. It really was a little predictable. I knew what was going to happen from the moment she met Duvall at the concierge place. I was like, oh Lord, they're going to fall in love by the time this thing is over with. And lo and behold, they did. I did like kind of how it wasn't too cookie cutter. I really did like how they had some kind of like, they was talking about Duvall's butt and his arms, things like that. Like I appreciated that because I feel like he is an attractive man, and it wasn't too hallmarky where she was just totally oblivious of how fine this man is, right? Like when you watch these movies, you're like, girl, are you oblivious? This man is fine. And they never really talk about it. They just so happen to fall in love without ever mentioning, each other's looks. I always thought that was weird. But overall, I liked it. I saw like some other movie on Netflix about like strippers at Christmas in this small town. That was terrible. Like it was like Magic Mike for Christmas, but not even Magic Mike because the men can't even dance. Like it was terrible. Like, and Netflix can be a hit or miss when it comes to this kind of stuff. I don't know who wrote that, but that was a laugh because it was that terrible. I also saw, what else did I see over the break? I saw, outside of Christmas stuff, I saw Alien Romulus. That was pretty interesting. I'm a really big Aliens fan, that franchise with Sigourney Weaver going all the way back. So I did watch the Romulus one. And now you have to, if you're a nerd like me, you kind of have to arrange the movies to what order that it's in, because some of the newer movies were like prequels to the older movies. So you kind of have to be mindful of the order of events. But overall, it was done well. I did in the movies, I did go see Wicked. Wicked was really, really good. If you're a big Broadway person, you would definitely love Wicked. I feel like it's one of those, straight up and down Broadway, real big type of numbers. We have like music numbers, you have choreography, stuff like that. I really did enjoy that. I was kind of confused about Linda in The Wicked Witch of the West, which is, played by Cynthia's character. Like, in my understanding, now correct me if I'm wrong, in The Wizard of Oz, weren't the Wicked Witch of the West, the North, the East, and the South, weren't they all sisters? Like, I feel like that meme where she was like, yeah, Geraldine and Ethel were sisters. Like, that's kind of how I feel like right now. Weren't they all sisters, though? It was my understanding that they were all sisters. But if I'm mistaken, in this movie, they met at a school, so they weren't related, but they became friends. And then, of course, later on, as we know, they started being enemies. I'm sure that in Wicked 2, which will be out next year or the year after, they're going to show kind of the downfall of their friendship, because in this movie they were besties. So, but I love how they portrayed Ariana's character, the Witch of the North. I think her character was absolutely hilarious. She was the most passive aggressive person I've ever met in my life. Like, I've ever seen. She was super duper passive aggressive, but it was hilarious because you could tell she had a good heart, and she just, her and Cynthia's character, what's her name? Amalus, something like that. They were complete opposites, but they got along well in the end. So yeah, it was just done well. The singing, I think it may have been 2 or 3 songs too many, because I love musicals, but just sometimes it could get overwhelming. But I think overall it was just done well. I really enjoyed it. So I can't wait for the new one to come out. So now let's get into our tune of the week. So this week's tune of the week is, of course, who else would it be but Kendrick Lamar? Like, we got hit with the most random drop from the guy who was having basically the best year of his career. Kendrick Lamar dropped GNX 2 Fridays ago. And when I tell you that I have been playing it nonstop. I have been playing it nonstop. Now, we know the battle with Drake, that has been an ongoing thing since earlier this year. People can say who won, who lost. I personally think Kendrick Lamar won, obviously. I mean, it's just obvious to me. He just had a better rebuttal. He just had better songs. He had more long-lasting songs, and it just is what it is. But with this album, nobody was expecting it. I mean, he got the, announcement of the Super Bowl, and we expect to see him in February with that. We expected to see him at the Grammys, all that good stuff, but we were absolutely not expecting this album. And it came out, and I have been playing it nonstop. It's really, really diverse, I feel like, because one thing about Kendrick Lamar, he gives you art. He gives you art pieces. His earlier albums were definitely cult classics and things like that, but he started to get into his art back with Mr. Morale and the Big Steppers. That was definitely, I think, could be a stage play within itself, honestly. But with this GNX album, I put it up there with the Damn album as far as an album that has a lot of replay value. Honestly, we've seen what Not Like Us did for the whole world, for the whole culture, and how that just has replay value. But this album had a lot of those type of songs on it too. It had a lot of songs on it that, mimicked kind of the West Coast sound, and it was very, very much West Coast, and it was for them. People on the East Coast, like myself, may not understand it that much, but that's fine. It wasn't for me. You see what I'm saying? Again, discerning of your energy. But yeah, so it wasn't for me, but I enjoyed it. It was a bop. I will say the songs that I really, really did love, my favorites were Luther, The Heart Part 6 with that SWV, Neptunes, Lose Your Heart. What? Like, I'll tell you, that was a great sample. I also loved Gloria with SZA. I loved GNX. I love the intro. So yeah, the whole thing, honestly, I maybe skipped 3 songs. But other than that, I thought it was done well. And I thought that he was able to kind of give you the diversity that he's been being made fun of because I feel like he was able to give you the girl bops, he was able to give you the artistic bops, and he was able to give you the West Coast. So it just really had a lot more to replay rather than Mr. Morale. Even though I still do play some songs from Mr. Morale. I do. I feel like, if you have to be in the type of mood and type of bag to kind of dissect that and kind of take that in. But yeah, I feel like Kendrick was like, I got those too. I got what you need. I'm not just this free the slaves, as Drake said. I'm not just that type of rapper. I really am a diverse type of rapper. So I appreciated that. I appreciate this album. I appreciate good music coming back. I'm really starting to see a trend of good music coming back, and I'm so happy about it, because enough is enough of the girlies, just talking about their vaginas and how big their booties are, and enough is enough about the boys who just talking about getting high and on lean all day. I like that too, but enough is enough. We got to have some diversity. It's a time and a place for all of this stuff. So let's bring back good music. Let's bring back good production. Because one thing this album did have, if you don't like the songs, that's fine. But you cannot sleep on the production. So yeah, go listen to that GNX. It is a good album. So that brings us to the end. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. As always, you cannot manifest anything you don't feel like you deserve. So create the life that you want and look to the sky for grace. Bye-bye.